Got it. Okay. Yeah, sorry I'm not on my normal site, but got an accident today, so I had to go to the hospital real quick. So I'm going to put myself on mute and stop my video. But Danny, we're looking forward to your lecture.
Cool. So can everyone hear me fine? I have my headphones on. I just don't want to make sure that ambient noise isn't crazy. All right, so since we're all kind of working from home, I'm going to kind of give you guys a few little tips and tricks that I've kind of come across in my profession, my 7 years of experience in the athletic world, that I'm going to kind of bring it over to you guys. And hopefully, this helps in some sort of way. Hopefully today we come out of here feeling a little bit looser. So first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the importance of staying loose. What do I mean by that? Well, we're sitting down for a lot of hours on end. We are, at our computers for the most part. A lot of us do not have the best posture, which is, I'm one of them. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm kind of slouching over, partly because the camera's low, but we slouch a lot while we're sitting down. We're just in uncomfortable positions. We find ourselves with a sore neck, sore back, our shoulders are tight, all of these things, right? So, hopefully today we're gonna kind of bring those things to ease and show you little tips and tricks that I've learned across my career that will help you and will help all of us while we're at home, right? So the first thing that I recommend everyone to have or to purchase, if you don't have them yet, is one of these guys. It's a foam roller. They are relatively inexpensive. They're about $20. You can find them on Amazon. This one is a little bit of a special type of foam roller. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but this guy could vibrate, which is actually pretty good when it comes to foam rolling and keeping loose, because it adds the massage component to things, right? So it helps you, I feel like, get the blood flow pumping a lot faster. It helps you feel looser. So, and that's the thing, you don't need to go out and spend the money on more expensive ones. That is, a couple $100, because it comes with that vibrating component thing. But a very simple foam roller from Amazon. I believe it's on the Amazon Basics side. That'll run you maybe about $15-20, and that goes a long way. Hopefully in another hopefully in another lecture, we'll kind of go over tips and tricks of how to use this foam roller, because believe it or not, you can get pretty much every muscle in your body with one of these back. It's pretty good. The second thing I want to talk to you about is this guy right here, my bottle of water. I go through about 5 of these a day, just kind of sitting at the desk, doing whatever work, just sipping on water. You would be surprised at how loose you will feel, and how hydrated your muscles will be by just doing what we're supposed to do, is drink water. It's extremely important, especially the fact that we're not moving around. We're not, our blood isn't pumping around the body like it should be normally when we're active. So keeping yourself hydrated, keeping your muscles oxygenated as well, is really critical, and it's really crucial to just staying loose overall, right? So before we go on here, I imagine that a lot of you, when you guys are at work, you're either outside or, some sort of comfortable chair. For the most part now, they're selling a lot of these specific chairs that are orthopedic, they're classified as like orthopedic chairs, a lot of stuff to help you with your posture. One simple thing that we could all do is, I'm sure everyone has this at home, is a pillow, right? Just put it right behind your back. And then just kind of sit back into that, right? What does that do? Well, as your body is kind of, pushed forward by that pillow, your body is a little bit more upright, right? And then, one thing that I've always done forever was I've always kind of slouched when I'm in this position. Why? It's kind of comfortable, kind of just hanging out, right? But that's actually really bad, because it puts a lot of unwanted pressure on your low back, right? So what do we do for that? Well, we just simply, I like to tell people to roll their shoulders back. You just kind of have a nice upright posture, right? And now to make it even more comfortable for everyone, in my case, I use this foam roller. I just put it down by my feet, put my feet up on it. What does that do? Well, right here, you can see my hands. These are my hips. This is the height of my hips. And then these are the heights of my knees. When I were to take this foam roller out, my knees and my hips are aligned, which is good. It's fine. It's comfortable, right? But your pelvis is anteriorly rotated, putting some unwanted stress on your low back. So by the simple motion of bringing your feet right up a few inches off of the ground, what that does is that increases your knee height. So now your knees are above your hips. What does that do? That posteriorly rotates your pelvis and your hips, relieving that pressure on your low back. And I don't know if you guys are, if you're trying it now, great. If you can, try it later, but it's pretty immediate. If you put your feet back down to the floor, and then if you bring it up, back onto something, you can feel the pressure kind of just go away, right? And this is just a much more comfortable position. And it's, if you notice, it's kind of harder to slouch over when you have something bringing up your legs, right? So it kind of forces you to sit up a little bit better. If you have a chair with armrest, the armrest should kind of make a right angle with your elbows, right? So that you're here and you're comfortable. That takes stress away from the neck, takes stress away from the shoulders. And then in this position, you're pretty much comfortable. You're pretty much set, and you're not going to be putting any unwanted stress in any muscles or any body parts for that matter. And then what I also like about the foam roller or something below my feet is you kind of get a little foot roll while I'm here, right? So it kind of little massage for your feet. And for me, that's someone who likes to be always kind of stimulated, doing something with their hands, fidgeting with something. I use this as kind of my fidget toy, so to speak. And yeah, it works great. I get a little foot roller out of it. Kind of keeps me moving too, right? So.
Oh, Danny, can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So you want your thighs to be parallel to the ground? Is that
slightly, you want, the way that I like to put it, and let me show you kind of the side angle, right? I know it's kind of hard for me to be sitting in this position, but both my knees right now are down, my feet are flat on the floor. If I bring this foot up, you see how I am still kind of parallel, but this leg is pointing at a higher angle, so to speak. That just takes a lot of pressure off of your low back, as opposed to sitting here for 2 hours and sitting up here for 2 hours. That'll make a world of a difference for your low back. I'm pretty sure that you're going to feel a lot looser at the end of it.
If you don't have a roller, can you use something like a stack of books?
Absolutely. Anything to elevate your legs and your feet up. So just to bring your knees about 2 to 3 inches up so that they're above your hip line. That's all you need. And that takes that posteriorly rotates your pelvis and gets a little bit of that, relief from the low back, from that compression.
Thanks.
So yeah, absolutely. If any of you guys have questions, please chime in by all means. I have a couple little stretches here that I have written out that I think would kind of benefit everyone. And we're going to kind of start with the head and finish off literally with the toes. So if you guys want to follow along, more than welcome to. If you want to turn your cameras on so I can make sure you're doing it right, you're more than welcome to. And if not, if you feel like it's kind of awkward, which it might be, again, more than welcome to, right? But the first thing I want to start off with is some neck mobility. Just simple your head, right? So we have this good posture, right? Everyone's kind of sitting up at the edge of their chair. In my instance, it's the couch, wherever you may be, right? So kind of just sit up, get a good posture, bring those shoulders back, that chin is up, everything is nice and relaxed, right? So the first thing you want to do is, we probably did this all like in kindergarten or something, just roll your head around, right? You're going to feel a lot of little nice cracks and pops and all that good stuff. And I suggest that you go slow so you don't get dizzy or any of that, right? Go about 5 times to the right-hand side. You're going to stop, kind of come back to balance. The room is spinning, just give it a quick second. And now you want to go to the other side. You want to go to the left, right? So this should feel pretty good. If you have any pain with any of this, I suggest that you don't do it too vigorously or anything, but there shouldn't be painful. It should be kind of nice and relaxed, right? So from here, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to stroke your shoulders really, really, really high. And I want you to hold it there so that you can feel the tension in your traps, right? So hold it there. And I want you to just relax everything. Kind of shake it out, keep it there, relax. I want you to do this 2 more times. You're gonna bring your shoulders up to your ears, hold it, hold it, hold it about 3 seconds, come back down, just keep everything relaxed, shake it out if you have to, one more time. Hold it, hold it, hold it, come back down. So right there, your neck, your shoulders should feel a little bit looser, right? One key thing that you have to do whenever you're stretching, whenever you're doing any sort of mobility work, breathe. People say, oh, I'm really, really tight, let me hold my breath. No, you want to breathe. The more oxygen your muscles have, the more they're going to relax. And then the more that tension is going to kind of go away, right? So good, we've gone to the neck, down to the shoulders. I want to keep hitting the shoulders a little bit. I want everyone to kind of come up here to a W position. So your elbows are going to be kind of tight to your torso, right? Your hands are going to be right here. Perfect. Now, all I want you guys to do is, while engaging your shoulders, meaning your shoulder blades, I want you to try to tighten them together as best as you can, right? You want to come straight up, like a touchdown motion. There you go. Come right back down. Up, hold it for a couple seconds. Come right back down. Mind you, this whole time you're engaging those traps, you're engaging those shoulder blades. So it should feel like a pretty good stretch. And one last time. And come back down. Cool. Shake it out. Kind of loose right now. Next thing I want you to do, we're going to get back into that right angle position with your shoulders. Now with this one, be careful. I want you to start off slow, but with both arms at the same time, I want you to internally rotate, meaning you're going to come down like this. Now you'll see how tight these feel if you're really tight in your shoulders. Then I want you to come back past that 90-degree mark, right? So a side angle of it would look like this. I'm going to come down as far as you can. You want to come back as far as you can. All right. We're going to do this for about 5 reps each way. Get a good 2-second hold at the bottom. Get a good 2-second hold at the top. Last time. Perfect. Check it out. Kind of good there. From there, I want you to do your forearms, right? So we're here all day, we're with a mouse, with a keyboard. These guys are gonna get really, really tight. So the easy way to get your forearms stretched out is, it's like, pretend like you're telling somebody to stop, right? So with one hand, you're gonna flip that hand down. Now with your other hand, you're gonna get all of your fingers, they're nice and tight together, and you're just gonna pull back. As you pull back, you want that elbow to completely lock out so that you feel that stretch all throughout here and all throughout the outside here. Right, so right there, again, do it about 2 or 3 seconds. Spin it out again. And like the other ones, we'll repeat this about 5 times. So once we've done the supinated position, which is with your palm up, we want to go to the pronated position. So you're just going to simply go back to that stop sign, right? You're going to push your hand down now, so you're going to flex your hand down. And then with your other hand, you're just going to apply pressure like that, keep your elbow locked out. Now you should feel it on the top of your forearm, right? So we've got the bottom with the supinated position. We've got the top with the pronated position. And then you also want to repeat it on the left hand, or the right hand, whichever the opposite hand that you started with. You want to do that as well. So I recommend about 5 reps. Hold it for about 2 to 3 seconds on each time, just to get, again, blood flowing to this area, to get these muscles feeling a little bit loose. Perfect. So now that we've got kind of the whole upper body, I want to get your torso. Simple exercise for this is to literally, so let's say I want to turn to my left side, I'm going to use my right arm. I'm going to try to reach back as far as I can, and I just want to hold that. Right. Come back to center. Then you want to get your left hand, try to reach to your right side as far as you can. And again, you just hold that. While you're doing this, just steady breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. That'll help relax. Right. So you want to do about 5 reps each way. You're going to hold it for about 2 to 3 seconds each time you get there. Right. Back and right. Hold that for about 2 to 3 seconds. And finally, left, now back to the right. Perfect. So now we've got everything up to our hips. Well, the next thing we're going to do is kind of target that low back and your hips specifically. So there's a stretch in the physical therapy world, athletic training world, for low back injuries that some of you probably done. It's called cat-cow stretch, right? So what does that mean? The cat usually, curls up, and then the cows are usually just kind of chilling down here with their big bellies, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mimic what the cat-cow stretch is like. So for this, I'm going to have you sit straight up, and then I want you to just arch your back without coming forward, flexing forward. I just want you to pretend that the navel is pushing straight back into the wall behind you, right? So you should feel everything in your anterior part of your body kind of pressed. Right? You're going to hold that for about 2 to 3 seconds. We'll come back to normal. And then we're going to do the cow part, which is the opposite, right? So I want you to do everything on your back, press, and everything on the anterior side of your body loosened up. So that's going to look like this. You're going to kind of arch as far as you can your lower back. And again, hold that for about 2 to 3 seconds. Good, come back to center. You're gonna repeat it again. Get that navel as far back to the wall as you can. Hold that. Feel the stretch going from all the way your traps down to the low back. Come right back up to center. And then repeat it where you're arching your back. Now your navel's trying to go in front of you towards the screen as far as you can. Get a good stretch everything in the front, have everything in the back tight. Good. So now that you kind of loosen it up, we should already feel a little bit looser, kind of from our hips all the way up, right? Now we're going to attack the lower body. And again, this is something that takes 5 minutes, and it really doesn't take too long, right? So the next one is a figure 4 stretch. Figure 4 stretch is very simple. With your knees and your everything just kind of relaxed. I want you to pick one foot up, and I want you to put it over your right or your left foot, or vice versa, right? So for me, I'm pretty loose, I'm pretty mobile. I don't really feel a stretch with this. So if you feel a stretch with this, great. If you just hold that position right there, you should feel a stretch all the way down your thighs and into your buttocks region. If you don't feel a stretch with this, you kind of push, gently start to push your knee down, and then you should kind of feel a stretch more in your hips and in your glute area, right? So same thing with this. Hold that for about 2 to 3 seconds, just kind of let off that pressure. Same thing, push down. And obviously, whatever you do to the right side, you want to do the left side, right? So for me, my left side is a lot tighter. So right here, I feel a pretty good stretch. However, I want to do a little bit more of a stretch. It just starts to push down. And again, you'll feel that in that anterior hip portion, and you'll feel that in the glute area as well. Pretty good stretch. Now, if you don't feel anything with any of these stretches, I promise you, you're going to feel this one. All you got to do is just intertwine your fingers, grab the outside of your knee, and just try to bring that knee up to you. I promise you, you're going to feel a pretty good glute stretch with that. And this is actually pretty good. A lot of people have this burning sensation right in the middle of their glute, and it kind of goes down. It feels like an electric shock. It's called piriformis syndrome. The piriformis is a very, very thin rope-like muscle about the size and the width of your index finger. And you have a nerve that muscle goes right above, and that muscle, when it's tight, it pushes down on that nerve, giving you that burning sensation going down your leg. So this is a really good stretch for that piriformis right here, where you're getting your knee and you're trying to hug it to your chest. Remember, keep that posture good. 2 to 3 seconds each time with a hold to get you there. All right. So once we finish that, kind of want to go into the hamstring stretch now. Unless you're an avid runner or you stretch daily, everyone's hamstrings are pretty tight. Mine is atrocious, right? So the easiest way to do this is I want you to put your feet out just straight in front of you. Okay, with a good posture, you're standing upright, hands right above your left, straight like that. And I just want you to reach for your toes, right? So you're going to go down as far as you can. If you can touch your toes, great, touch them. If you can even get your hands on the outsides of your feet and hold the bottom of your feet, even better. It makes you pretty flexible. Right, so same thing. I want you to breathe like normal. 2 to 3 second holds. Come back up. Same thing. 2 to 3 second hold. Come right back up. Again, repeat that about 5 times. Next thing I want you to do is your groin stretch. So this one, for me, especially since I did go on a pretty long run this morning, this one's going to be pretty tight for me. All you have to do for this, again, you can stay seated, is you're just going to go right to the edge of your chair. So for instance, I'm going to use my right leg first. All you're going to do is extend your right leg out so that your knee is locked. It's just straight in front of you. Okay. You could use your right hand to support your right hip. And then all I want you to do is just lean forward. And you should feel a pretty good stretch going all the way down your groin. Right? Come right back up. Another thing that I see my athletes especially did a lot. They would get here and they would just bounce. So they feel a stretch kind of go in and out. I suggest you don't bounce. Bouncing is for Olympic sprinters. Those guys, they need that. They need those fast twitch muscles to go on a 100-meter dash or something. But for us that are just trying to loosen everything up and feel pretty good, this is what you guys should do right here. Just kind of keep it nice and steady, keep a constant breath, and then come back. Same thing, you want to repeat that for the left side. Whew, I can just feel it in this position already for me. It's pretty tight. Support that left hip with the left arm. And then you just want to lean your chest forward. Your back is straight throughout all of this. You're not slouching over or anything like that. Everything is straight. You're just leaning forward. Get to the bottom to where it's comfortable. Again, you hold that for a few seconds, come back up, repeat the process. Good. Now we got two more, we'll be done. The last two I want you to do requires your ankle. Ankle mobility is huge too, especially since you're sitting down and we're not doing a lot of moving around, right? So let me just pan the camera down a little bit for this one so you guys can see this. Okay, so for this, I want your feet together, and then I want you to come up as high as you can, right? So with your ankles, and I want you to feel your calves real tight, right? So you're gonna hold that for 2-3 seconds, and then you're gonna do the opposite. I want you to do a toe raise. I want you to get your toes and try to go as high as you can with your heels still on the floor. Okay, I want you to repeat that. Go up, toes, get your calf nice and locked. If you pull a cramp, I'm sorry. And then get your heels again. Try to get those toes as far up as you can to the sky. What is this doing? Well, when we're coming up on our toes, you should feel a little bit of a stretch in the front part of your leg right here. There's a muscle that comes all the way from here to right in front of the forefoot. It's called your tibialis anterior. That helps with kind of doing this rotation with foot. So that's a good stretch for that. And then obviously, when we're picking up our toes, keeping our legs nice and locked like this, you're stretching out your calf, and your sole is just underneath the calf. And then finally, last but not least, my favorite one, just rotating those ankles. You should hear pops and cracks and all that good stuff, but it should feel pretty good. And I would do about 15 rotations one way, and then you're gonna flip it and do about 15 rotations the next. Perfect. So now, since you've taken about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so to do that out of your work day, you're ready to get back to work. I don't know about you, but I feel a little bit looser now. I have blood flowing around me. I'm not necessarily sweating, but I feel a little bit warm. And that's actually a good thing. That means it's blood circulating through my body, and my muscles are actually, have good blood supply. There's blood flowing correctly around the body, right? So again, I like to do this. What I just showed you guys, I literally do daily. I gotta practice what I preach. And like, where's my foam roll? This guy, I foam roll every single day. One thing I told my athletes was, and I promised them if they foam rolled at least once a day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of their day, their injury rates would decline. And a couple other guys didn't believe me. A couple other guys kind of took me at my word, and then some of them actually put it to the test. And the ones that put it to the test would come back to me a few weeks later, 2 weeks later, and be like, you know what, this feels great. Out of my hamstring that used to bother me all the time when I'm running through sprints or something, doesn't really bother me anymore. And it all goes back to tissue extensibility, right? That's what this whole thing is about. Foam roller is about tissue extensibility. You want to keep your muscles nice and loose. Yes, when your muscles do have to work, for the bicep to carry something, right? They are going to tighten up. They will loosen, but the looser the muscles are in the body, the more flexible you'll be. The more flexible you are, the less injuries that you'll be prone to, right? So that's kind of my quick little spiel of kind of staying loose, kind of staying active, so to speak, while we're at our desk all day and working. If you can, kind of scrap out a little bit of time to go for a walk, go for a gym, go for a workout. A bike ride, again, it doesn't have to be intense. People think that when you have to go work out, it has to be about 2 hours long. You need a sweat stain coming down your belly button. That's not the truth, right? Any little active or activity that we do throughout the day is very beneficial. For instance, if you live in a 2-floor building or your apartment or house where there's 2 floors and you're upstairs in your office area, hey, why don't you go downstairs to use the bathroom instead of going 5 feet down the hall? That makes you go down a flight of stairs, use another restroom, come back up another flight of stairs. That's blood that's flowing throughout your body, gets a little bit of act. That little bit goes a long way. So I'll kind of open up the room if you guys have any questions for anything. But I appreciate you working along with me, and hopefully you feel a little bit looser now that we're not as tight and get back to work a little bit more comfortable.
What do you call the little foot, the little round thing that you have?
This guy's foam roller.
Say that again.
So a foam roller.
I still can't make out what you
I
said.
think he said foam roller.
Foam roller. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So on Amazon, they sell it in the Amazon Basics section. It's about 12, $20. It doesn't, again, this one that I have is kind of like a special one. I've gotten to the point where if I roll out with a regular foam roller, I don't feel anything anymore. So this one is actually like a vibrating foam roller, and it has 3 settings that get pretty, high up there and pretty intense. But that
I just
gets
posted a link to it in the Amazon to all the different ones. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This one, if you guys are interested, I don't know if you are, it's pretty expensive, but it's called a Hyper Ice. Hyper Ice or Hyper Bolt, you've probably heard is those other massage guns that they sell. If you guys have one of those, that's really beneficial too. I used to have one when I worked at Utah. They kind of gifted us all for our offices, and we would be doing a lot of administrative work or something for a long period of time. I just whip it out, kind of massage out my thighs, get my upper back, just feel loose at the end of the day. That's what they wanted us to see. They wanted us to be comfortable at work. So the athletic department was nice enough to buy the entire athletic department on one of those massage guns. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring it with me. It's probably a Utah, but I have this guy to do that same thing.
Hi, Danny. I have a quick question about icing and heating. Can you remind us when to ice and when to heat? Like if
So,
you're knees?
yeah, absolutely. So I like to always explain to my athletes this way: for heat expands, ice constricts, right? So when you want to warm up, when you want to, if you're getting ready to go for a walk, or if you're getting ready to go for a jog or exercise or whatever, that's a proper time to heat, right? So they sell at any drugstore, online, on Amazon, whatever it may be. You can buy one of those heating pads, just an electric heating pad you put on your thighs and your low back. It kind of helps loosen things up, right? Whereas the opposite, when you ice, it kind of constricts everything and tightens everything up. But what does ice do? Ice is really good for inflammation. So if you went out on your walk and now your knees are a little bit sore, or some of even my young athletes had arthritis already starting up in their knees or low back, whatever it may be, due to their sport and their position. Ice would definitely help with that. Not only does it reduce the inflammation, but it acts as an analgesic, and it takes away some of that pain, right, and discomfort that you feel. And also, I don't know if any of you have ever done this, but when you go, like I used to go to the weight room back when I was in Utah, get a good lower body strength day, and where I would squat pretty heavy weight, do all of these things lower body, and then I'd jump into a cold tub. And yes, the cold tub was cold. It was about 50-something degrees. However, it felt great, right? Because when I came out of it, I was cold, I was pretty tight. Then you go, you shower, and as you're warming back up throughout the day, you just feel a lot looser, right? So that's what the heat and the ice do to you. A lot of people say, "Oh, my knees are sore," but if you look down and you have a swollen joint or whatever it may be, and the heat, you're actually not doing the best for it, right? You're bringing more blood flow to that area, you're producing more swelling, more edema in that area. When it's the opposite that we want to do. We take some of that swelling out, cold compress, ice bag, or whatever it may be. You're not only reducing that inflammation, like I said, but you're helping out with the pain as well. So hopefully that answers the question.
That answers it. I was just trying to figure out when I was doing physical therapy, at the end of it, they always gave me like a warm thing to lie down on, like the warm gel things.
Yeah.
And
That's the thing. It all comes back to what is that therapist trying to do, right? If that therapist wants to keep you at a relaxed state where everything is nice and loose, then absolutely, that's where you use heat pad, right? In the sense where with my athletes, I would usually always end with a cold, an ice pack or a cold compression pack, whatever it may be, for the simple reason that we were done with all of the exercises for that day. Now, let's say in 3 or 4 hours, we have to go outside to practice, right? Football practice. Well, before practice, I would tell that person to come back in, get a couple heat packs, or maybe jump into the hot tub, and just kind of get their whole body again warm and get that blood flowing, so that when they get out to the practice room, they actually start their stretches and all of that. They're already a lot looser, and then that final stretch is going to help them get really loose, and then they can go into that first period of practice.
thank you.
Danny, do you have, first of all, thanks for showing us all these stretches that we can do at our desks while seated. That's very practical. I wanted to ask if you have any recommendations regarding using standing desks,
So
whether
I
to
think-
use them or not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm absolutely for it. One thing that we had the luxury at Utah as well was in each of our offices, we had a standing desk option. So I rarely did sit. The times that I would sit is because I'd be standing for about 8 hours of the day and I just wanted to get off my feet for a little bit. But yes, I think they're absolutely great. I feel like when you're standing, you're more productive, right? You have blood flow that's pumping. You're more mobile. You can just reach for things. I don't know. I feel like it's not lazy. I don't want to say that. But you're more mobile, right? You're more inclined to reach for something a little bit farther as opposed to when you're sitting and you're, oh man, it's all the way over there. Let me, bend myself all out of shape to go and reach for something. And at the end of the day, it's better for us, right? Our blood pressures are more regulated when we're standing. You tend to change position more when you're standing, right? To put a little bit more weight on a different limb. That also kind of takes the pressure off your low back and your hips, right? So it's absolutely beneficial. And, for some portions of the day too, I feel like when we're sitting down, if we don't have a cup of coffee next to us, or even if we're on our second or our third cup of coffee, it's just not doing it for you. As soon as you stand up, you got more blood flow, flowing around your body. You're more awake, right? So that's all it is. Your blood pressure will rise a little bit as you stand, that orthostatic blood pressure stuff, standing. But that's a good thing. Your heart has to pump a little bit harder to reach all the way down to your toes, to reach the blood up to your brain. That's going to keep you more awake. It's going to keep you more engaged. And it's just going to keep your brain kind of, in that, not in the fog anymore, as opposed to, okay, we got to get something done. So you can be more focused at that point. So yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. If you can get one, or if you have one, that's awesome. Cool. If you guys have any other questions, by all means, ask. You can send me a message, you can email me, whatever it may be. This is being recorded, so if you are kind of feeling tight, a little bit, not loose, so to say, at your own desk, you kind of just refer back to this. You can look at it, go through the stretching progression again. And again, it's something that we could do seated at your desk. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to get up. So it's pretty convenient, and it literally only takes about 10 minutes. So I feel
But
like if
Danny-
you could, yes.
One more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get a lot of pain, like in between it feels like burning in between my shoulder blades, but it doesn't feel like it's tight. It almost feels like it's stretched too much. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Probably from because having your arms in front of you all day. 'Cause
Mhm.
I'm
So,
a writer pretty much. So is there an exercise that you can recommend?
absolutely. So that kind of comes from that arching of the back, right? Where we're kind of just slumped over and we're rolled over. And even if you're not, like you just mentioned, where your hands are in front of you the entire time, those shoulder blades are kind of outside on the lateral parts of your body, right? So they're out here. So what do we want to do? We want to strengthen that blade or not. That means that musculature in the middle of your back is kind of weak. So what we want to do is that we want to strengthen it so that we can not keep your shoulder blades out here, but actually keep them in the position that they're supposed to be, which is right in the middle of your back, right? So very easy things that, do not require weights or anything. A simple exercise that, even for my athletes, what I would do is just have them have their arms right in front of them, right? So with the thumbs out, and if you're touching your thumbs here, you can kind of come out to your sides. And as you come back, I want you to squeeze those shoulder blades together. And you'll see how when you hold it for about 2 seconds, it'll start to burn a little bit. Then you can kind of come back. Same thing, you want to hold that. So the more that you're engaging that muscle, those are muscles right in the middle of your body that are down. So you have your spinal cord, then these big 2 long rope-like muscles that go all the way from the top of your neck here, all the way to your low back. Those are called your erector spinae. That helps you kind of keep your upper torso up like this. But in a little bit outside of that, there's these muscles called your rhomboids, which are the ones in this case that are weak in your instance, right? Because those are the ones that attach to the medial or the middle part of the scapula. So if those are weak, those are going to kind of let those scapulas kind of flare out. And that's what we call scapular winging. Now, if those are nice and tight, they bring those scapulas back, and that pain that you have should go away.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, I got a quick question, Danny. So like on my YouTube page, sometimes I get these pop-ups of videos, people doing these like so-called incredible stretches, right? Like the one guy's claiming they can do the splits after practicing for a month or two. Are those things healthy, or could they actually be harmful if you don't do it correctly?
So that's the kicker right there. If you don't do it correctly, yeah, it could be harmful, right? So for instance, like the split. Yeah, it's cool if you could do it, but if there's no practical use for it, then why do it? You know, now if you're a gymnast or someone that needs that, you know, that high degree of flexibility, or a dancer, you know, or a ballet artist or someone, then yeah, absolutely, you need to be able to do that. But all they're doing, right, is yeah, you get into that split position, and that person's going to be very, very tight, and it's going to be pretty painful, to be honest with you, right? So all they're doing is, with time, like anything, even like using a foam roller, if you do this periodically, or not even periodically, you do it religiously every single day, what happens is that that tissue extensibility starts to kind of become permanent, right? So what does that mean? Is that those muscles, all the muscle spindles and all the muscle tissue that's been bound up and it's tight, you're breaking down all that, the connective tissue, right? That's connecting all of these muscle fibers together. You're breaking that down and you're elongating the muscle. So that's all it is yeah, 1 month, 2 months down the road, all that connective tissue has kind of been broken down. You're elongating the muscle. So now the muscle is able to get into that position without being overstretched, right? And that's all it goes back to is, you know, the muscle kind of has its own brain. That's called the Golgi tendon organ. And that's that thing where if you kind of start to overstretch a muscle, it kind of wants to pull back and starts to, you know, contract. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. If you're going to tear me. What you're doing too with tissue extensibility is that you're allowing that threshold of the Golgi tendon organs to kind of get a little bit higher. And then the muscle is getting a little bit more comfortable, saying, you know what? Okay, we're pretty far stretched back, but I don't feel too bad. I don't feel like I'm going to tear right now. We can go back a little bit more. So you go back a couple more inches, boom, it gets really, really tight again, and that's where you stop. And that's the way that you should use stretching. But I mean, not that it's good or bad. If you do it the wrong way, then yes, it is bad, because you will pull a muscle, you will get some micro tears in that, and it's be painful.
Frank, is it true that you used to climb the walls at Caltech?
Well, that's my shoes, right? It was just the width of the hallway was enough that if I jumped up and then stretched, I could kind of lift myself up. But you had to have like soles on your shoes.
Wait. So how would you be positioned?
It was sort of like, I mean, it wasn't like I was doing splits or anything. It's still, I could still have a pretty wide angle, but it was just wide enough that, or narrow enough that even just by stretching a little bit, I could position 1 foot on one side of the wall and the other, and then one on the other opposite side, and then just using my hands to slowly kind of crawl up.
Okay, you'll have to deliver a lecture on that.
I'm pretty sure someone took a picture somewhere, so I had to find it.
Danny, do you have any recommendations regarding chairs, since we're spending so much of our time in chairs these days?
So a good chair with a good lumbar support. What I mean by lumbar support is that there should be kind of a little pillow or a little, you know, metal kind of arch to give your low back that arch. And again, all that goes back to just anteriorly rotating those hips. If for whatever reason you don't have that, a very simple pillow could do the job, where you kind of tuck it in your low back, right? That really takes that pressure off. And then, like I said earlier, you get that foam roller, little push, whatever it may be. And if you don't have any of these options, right? At the end of the day, you just bring those knees up above your hips. That takes the pressure off your low back. But yeah, absolutely, chairs with the low back support are great. There's also chairs now with kind of a headrest, right? So that if you are with a good low back support, your head kind of wants to go back. And the ideal position for your head when you're sitting should be that your ears are aligned with your shoulders, right? So they should be, when you look at it from the side, your ears should be directly over your shoulders. So that way your head is not too far forward or it's not too far back, because either way, it's going to put stress on other muscles that you don't want to be tight. That's just going to make your life difficult, right? So if everything is nice and balanced, it just takes a lot of pressure off of your neck. And it just kind of helps everything stay at ease, right? And then you obviously, with well, ideally would want to have a chair with armrest, right? Because what you can do is you could just elevate it to the point where your elbows at that right angle, like I mentioned earlier. And that's just a relaxed position that your shoulders aren't scrunched up for too long, but they're also not dangling for too long. So you're just perfectly right.
How about laptop stands? Important,
That's
unimportant?
yeah, I mean, laptop stand, what all that does is that it raises the screen so that you're not constantly looking down on it, straining your, not only your neck, but your eyes, trying to focus down on it. All the laptop stand, all that does is that it brings that monitor higher up, right? So that you don't have to go down or up. You're just looking at it straight on. And again, it just takes that pressure off of your neck and it allows those ears to be directly over your shoulders. So yeah, absolutely. If you get a laptop stand,
Great.
if you could get a good chair with a standing desk and a laptop stand, you're trifecta. I think you'll be all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have questions? Now's your chance to ask.
What about, I've been having an issue right in this area where it's hard to move my my elbow. What would you recommend for doing exercises just right in this area in here?
So how did that stretch, that forearm stretch kind of feel for you? Did that bother you?
It hurt just to do that. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So what that means is that, there's a term in the athletic world called golfer's elbow, tennis elbow. I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
Okay.
But basically the real medical term for it is called epicondylitis. And all that is just, you have, every bone has an epicondyle, not every bone, but your bone here, your humerus has an epicondyle. And then there's muscles which come here, your wrist flexors that allow you to bring your wrist down.
Mhm.
Those guys that attach right at that point are just super, super tight. So that happens to, cause the tendonitis, what we call it, right? That's just inflammation of the tendon connects bone to bone. Or I'm sorry, a tendon connects muscle to bone, ligament connects bone to bone. So since that muscle is constantly pulling on it and it's tight, it's just gonna pull from that insertion side, right? So what would I do for that? Foam roller, a water bottle, anything that's hard, right?
Uh-huh.
You get that and you start to roll it up, and you start to do a couple of stretches along with it. You combine both of those. It'll hurt a little bit, at first. And there's a difference between pain and discomfort. It'll be a little bit of discomfort, right? Because you're not damaging anything by doing this. In fact, you're actually helping yourself by doing this. Right? So you'll foam roll that out, and all that does is that, again, you have that tissue extensibility that we talked about. And the more, the more stretchy or extensible that tissue is, the less it'll be pulling from that insertion site, which is right up here at the bone. Because I'm sure that if you poke right around that area, it'll light you up like a Christmas tree, and it'll be pretty painful. So what I eat, and I had this a lot with my linemen, right, for football. They would always be in this position, and they would have to punch, and they would have to block another 350-pound human being that's going to feet at them. So you can imagine how the other side of things, what they call tennis elbow, because of a backhand swing, this part of them would get super, super tight because they were always caught back in that wrist flexion position. I'm sorry, wrist extension position, right? So that is the part that got shortened all the time. And since it was constantly shortened, having to push another player, it would never kind of go back into that extension that it needs, right? So we would always try to loosen that guy up to relieve the pressure from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danny. Richard was asking me to send a link to your podcast. I don't have the link to it. Did you have a link to your podcast?
Sure. With you? That way you can send it to everyone.
Yeah. It's also time to start looking for a standing desk.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're really, really beneficial. They are a little pricey. That's the unfortunate part, but they are really pretty useful, in my opinion.
Danny, I promise it's my last question.
No, yeah, keep them coming. I don't mind these at all. This is
So
great.
like 2.5-3 years ago, I had meniscus tear, and it's never felt right, and I still get some pain. Is there any disadvantage to taking turmeric with black pepper? It helps me. Is that bad to be taking this?
No, absolutely not. You know, it's one of those things that there have been some studies on it that they show that yes, it helps people, and other people say that it doesn't help at all. I feel like if it's helping you, then absolutely that would be beneficial. You can keep doing that. That's not something that's going to be harmful to you at all. There are other, you know, options. You know, if you did have a meniscal tear and you didn't have a surgical procedure for it, be it a repair, which takes you out for a little bit because you can't put any pressure on that, or what they call a partial meniscectomy, which is where they kind of just chop out that piece of torn tissue, right? That relieves a little bit of pain, but then down the line, what it causes is that bone to bone
Yeah.
contact, and that's what provides, and that's what gives arthritis, right? And that's what we don't want. So there are drugs out there. There is this thing that's called a Synvisc injection. It's a series of 3 injections, and what it is, it's kind of a corticosteroid where, you know, it's like putting jelly back into the jelly donut, right? So it gives that shock absorption to your knee. There's good and bad to it. The good is that for some people, it helps them out, and it, you know, they could go months and months without having any pain. The bad part is that you could go through these series of 3 injections into your knee that causes some discomfort, causes a little bit of pain, and you get nothing out of it. Because at the end of the day, any fluid that you introduce inside the body, your body would absorb it throughout time.
Yep.
And you know, whether your body absorbs it all at one particular moment or it takes a couple months to be absorbed, that all depends on the person, right? And that's kind of hard to tell unless you, you know, you try it out. Right? So that's one option. A corticosteroid injection is another option, and then there's a bunch of different medications. You know, Celebrex is a big one that they use for a lot of arthritic pain. If you don't want to go that crazy with the prescription meds part, simple Aleve, right? NSAIDs, or ibuprofen, anti-inflammatory medications. Those are huge, and those help out. I like to what I call load, you know, medication load for 1 week. What does that mean? Is that you take 2 pills. Let's say you're taking ibuprofen. You take 2 pills 3 times a day for a whole week. What does that do? Is that it loads your system with this anti-inflammatory medication. And then the following week, you just keep it to 2 pills once a day, like that, so that you load it on the front end and then you maintain it for about a week or 2, and then you kind of start to wean off of it. Just builds the anti-inflammatory effects up in your body, along with some sort of, you know, physical therapy and sort of just exercises that you can do to strengthen your quadriceps muscles and your hamstrings, but definitely take pressure off of your knee as well.
Need to do more of that.
Yeah, it's huge. It really helps. I know it's not comfortable. I know it's kind of an exercise. It is an exercise.
No, but I keep hearing that because my knee keeps hurting because I'm kind of weak on the top part, so I need to strengthen that. as well.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Absolutely.
And water, drink lots of water.
Yes, drink lots of water. Stay hydrated.
Yep. Thanks, Danny.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you guys all for listening, for taking a little bit of time out. I know that we all got to get to other meetings later on. So yeah, if you have any questions,
Yeah.
email me.
Danny, can I ask just for like a 1 minute quick recap of the stretches?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I'll, what I'll do is that I'll kind of write all these down for you, Michia.
Oh, excellent.
I have everyone's email on this thing, but I'll send it to you. That way you can kind of redistribute it to every single person on here. But real quick, we started off from the head to the toes, right? That neck mobility going around, the shoulder mobility, which is those W's going into the Y's. We had those internal and external rotations. Okay, let me see what I'm going here. The forearms, right? So yeah, after your shoulders, you got to go down to your forearms. Get those trunk rotations in. Right? You had the cat cow, which is that arching of the low back. You had the straight leg hamstring. Had the one that you kick out your leg straight to the right to get your groin on both sides. The figure 4, which is an important one for your glutes. You need to get a little more to push it up. Those, you know, the calf pumps into the toe raises, and then finally those ankle twirls either way. I feel like if you do all of that and you target everything from your head down to your toes, you should be pretty good at that.
Okay, thanks very much, Danny.
Absolutely, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
I will
thank you.
stop the recording.